Hello there. Welcome to the channel. So, I sense it's possible that somebody yesterday thought, being a little hypocritical, Eva, I mean, you color your hair, right? You wear makeup, maybe? Yes, I do color my hair. Yes, I do use face cream and lotion, mascara, and even some lipstick. So yes, I am not without sin in the regard to pretty. But, you know, as Bobby Renfro once said, he told me that sometimes people would say to him, I don't want to go to that church, it's full of hypocrites. And he'd always say, yeah, we have room for a few more. His heart abounded with loving kindness. He was a great preacher. Maybe I'll talk about him someday soon. Kids are popular when they're pretty, and so are teachers. And that's natural. And what comes with being popular because you're pretty is some people get jealous and they are resentful of your popularity and you're pretty. And I think all of us that have lived for any amount of time are familiar with this effect. As a teacher, I saw male and female teachers dislike students because they were pretty. Both male and female students. And it happens. It just happens. And if it happens among the students, it happens to some degree among the teachers. Teachers, I think a lot of teachers want to be the most popular teacher. And so if they know of a teacher that's as popular or maybe seems maybe a little bit more popular, there can be some resentment and jealousy there. That does happen. I have been, as a teacher, in all the range of popularity. I've been both unpopular and very popular, downright beloved. But I don't think John ever was an unpopular teacher. He was an unknown teacher a little while at both schools that he taught in. But I don't think that he ever was unpopular. He just naturally engendered a lot of affection. He was charming. But I've been in everywhere along the spectrum, so I can talk about it maybe with a little bit more authority than him. And I don't think he would agree with me about the pretty thing. I think his take on pretty would be different. And I wish I could share it with you, but I can't. We did have a discussion once about pretty, but it had to do with me thinking that the women who were professional cheerleaders with professional football teams were not doing the right thing. And he felt they were doing something perfectly fine. And he was probably right, but I was probably a little bit right too. So there it is. Anyway, when you start your career as a teacher in your 20s, if that is true, a lot of teachers don't start that young. I did. I started very young, and John started very young as well. When you're young, when you're in your 20s and you're a teacher, you're going to be automatically prettier than most of the other teachers, and you're going to be automatically more popular because you're young. And you're still young enough to know the cultural sort of cachet of youth that students are in, and you're just a little bit older, so you're a little bit more sophisticated, and this makes you very enticing and interesting. Teachers need to avoid becoming romantically linked to their students. The obvious way and reason they need to avoid that is anybody under 18 should never be involved romantically with a teacher, because that's not okay. That's just not okay. And it does happen that teachers become the romantic attention of students. There's ample evidence and anecdotal cases of this, and it's never a good idea. First of all, they're children. Second of all, the power dynamic is wrong. even if it turns out years later that you're destined to meet again and even marry with a student, a former student, the dynamic when you're the teacher is too power-centered in you. We might think that we know people really well, but the heart is a secret thing, and there are chambers within the soul which no one else enters. And you simply do not know, from the point of view of power over someone else, how much power you exercise. You can't know. You may exercise almost none. You may exercise a huge amount. And you can't be sure of which of those is true. So, if a student has this experience of having romantic feelings towards you as a teacher, you must avoid all possibility of them ever thinking that's going to be realized. You must stay out of that particular vision. You can be aware of it. You will be aware of it. There are teachers that get love letters. It does happen. It has even happened to moi when I was in my 20s. So you must avoid situations where you're alone with a student. If you have to be alone with a student, the door is always open. If it's an office or a classroom, the door is open, the lights are on. There is no one-on-one time with students. There just isn't. If there is, it has to be in a place where anybody can walk in and see at any moment. Don't give students rides. Just don't. If students need a ride, for example, my youngest brother was a student in the drama club when I was sponsoring drama club in Deming. He could ride in my car. Nobody else should have. Occasionally, a couple of his friends did, and that was stupid of me, and I shouldn't have done that. Okay? So, you understand, nothing happened, but it was still stupid. It was foolish. I shouldn't have done it. And that is the reality. You have to exercise incredible restraint as a teacher. You also absolutely have to understand that some students who experience romantic feelings toward you are experiencing transference. Misinterpreting the feeling of gratitude for your support and your enabling them and empowering them, they confuse that feeling of gratitude with a feeling of love. It will go away, that transference, that romantic attachment. It will go away because it's transitory. It's not a genuine romantic attachment. I really don't think even adult students should date professors. It happens. Graduate students pretty often will date their professors. They shouldn't. That dynamic should be over before any romantic relationship takes place, period. That's the way it should be. It doesn't always happen that way. People do things that aren't the most ethical things in the world, but I'm telling you now, it's a bad idea for a student and a teacher, no matter the age, to have a romantic attachment, because the power dynamic is wrong. If you're the teacher and you know that you're romantically linked to a graduate student, let's say you're a professor and there's a graduate student who's romantically interested in you, you must not indulge that possibility until that person is no longer going to be a student of yours in any way. It has to do with being completely fair to the hearts of those you teach. It's almost like teachers should have something sort of like the Hippocratic Oath, I think. The Hippocratic Oath is first, do no harm, right? That's how it begins. And I think teachers should sort of think that way when they're working with students. Do your darndest to do no romantic harm to a child. And the other thing, of course, is be careful about when you spot a romance among students. I have a matchmaker's soul. I want people to get together. I think that's wonderful. I love that story. People falling in love. I love that story. And I have an eye for it. And perhaps I'll tell you the story of when I had an eye for it and I got into big trouble because I caught something that the students didn't want me to catch. Maybe I'll try the anomaly on that. So, if you are young and teaching, know, first of all, that as far as the students are concerned, you're one of the pretty people. And you're popular. Even if it turns out you have a kind of a weak personality and you're sort of bad at your job, you're still going to be popular for a while because you're going to be young for a while. And while that's going on, develop your skills as a teacher so that when you are no longer young, you can be popular because you're good at what you do. That's it for today. I hope you have a glorious rest of the day, and I hope you see me again. You gorgeous people.